Hello everyone, welcome to Prelims 360 session. In the last class, we have discussed a couple of themes regarding geography and history. In today's class, we'll try to understand some of the important themes of polity and science and technology. So first, we'll try to understand why polity is important and SNT is important with respect to prelims perspective. In each and every prelims, we will be getting around 10 to 15 questions from the polity and around 10 to 15 questions from science and technology. So it's very imperative to understand some of the important concepts of polity and SNT in order to get good marks in prelims. At the very first, we'll try to understand some of the important themes regarding the polity, and then we'll try to understand some of the important themes present in IAS. So if you go through the previous year paper from 2021 to 2011, we'll come to understand that good number of questions are coming from certain areas. The first and foremost one is the parliament and the state legislature. So each and every year, if you go through, there are at least 2 questions from parliament or state legislature section itself. For example, which of the following best describes parliamentary form of government? The powers of Rajya Sabha with the Lok Sabha. So what are all the mechanisms available in the legislature in order to make executive accountable, like question hour, short notice, adjournment, motion, etc. So especially in the Lakshmikant book, the parliament chapter is very important. Try to go through each and every line of it. Like in 2013 or 14, we got question on estimates committee. So in 2018, we got question on rules committee. Likewise, you try to go through parliamentary committees also, and parliament, and in addition to that, as a network building part, try to go through parliamentary forums. And the next important topic in polity is the president and the governor. Each and every alternative year we get one question. In 2021 also we got question on president, naturalized citizens or acquired citizenship, etc. In 2018 also we got question on the manner of election to president of India. So what are all the important powers associated with the president? So what is the relationship between president and vice president? Likewise, you try to understand some of the important aspects. And the governor, especially the president rule, so is largely has been asked by UPSC almost every alternative year. So the governor has more discretionary power compared to the president. Likewise, you try to understand some of the important elements. And the next part is judiciary part. Judiciary, like in 2021 itself, we got 2 questions on judiciary. So judiciary is one of the most important aspect of prelims. So whether it may be a High Court, Supreme Court, judicial review, the manner of appointment of judges to Supreme Court or High Court. Likewise, we get good number of questions from the judiciary section, and along with that we usually get questions on like Lok Adalat, Lokpal. So try to understand those elements. Grama Nyayalayas, in 2016 we got question on Grama Nyayalayas. Likewise, you try to understand some of the important dimensions on judiciary. Try to go through the previous papers, draw the dimension. Based on that, you try to understand these topics. The next one is fundamental rights. In 2021 itself, we got 2 questions on fundamental right, article number 21 and article number 14. In 2020 itself, we got 1 question on article 14 itself. So whether they form the justiciable part of the constitution or not, whether they are enforceable automatically or not. So what is the exact definition of article 14, article 21, what are all the important provisions, like what are all the important judgments regarding article 21, which has expanded the horizon of article 21 itself, Maneka case. Try to go through those elements. Next one is DPSP and fundamental rights and preamble. DPSP, fundamental rights and preambles are the most, or can be called as pillars of Indian Constitution. So try to go through each and every line of it, understand what all the measures taken by the government in order to implement certain DPSPs. So there are certain provisions which are very similar in DPSP also and fundamental duties also. For example, to protect important cultural monuments, etc. So likewise, you try to understand the difference between certain provisions of DPSP and fundamental duties. So along with that, the preamble part. So for example, there are various important keywords present in the preamble. For example, equality, liberty, integrity, fraternity, like the secular term was added in 47 Constitutional Amendment Act. Likewise, you try to go through those elements bit by bit. Next one is schedules of the Indian Constitution, the 10th schedule. So we got question on 5th schedule, 6th schedule, 4th schedule, especially the 10th schedule, especially the anti-defection part. So along with that, you try to go through RPA Act 1950, 1951, Election Commission, elections in India, etc. Then philosophy of the constitution. The philosophy of the constitution matlab like what do you mean by liberty, what do you mean by constitutional government. So more or less it is largely talks about the analytical aspects of the constitution, how exactly you have understood some of the important elements or pillars of constitution. They are going to ask such kind of question. Most of these questions are ABCD format of question, which requires a lot of conceptual clarity. Next one is citizenship. Like citizenship, the extended part of the citizenship is the Aadhaar bill or Aadhaar, NPR. The census is largely the 2021 census is happening right now. So likewise, you try to identify certain important elements, like what are all the various ways a person can acquire the citizenship. So recently, Citizenship Amendment Act is largely in use. Try to go through those elements and try to converge between the current affairs part and the static part. So in the last 2 to 3 years, we are getting hybrid kind of questions. In hybrid kind of question means in one question itself there will be 2 to 3 statements. One statement will be from the static part and the other 2 statements from the current affairs part or the dynamic part. So you try to understand these elements, keeping both static and current affairs in your mind. Try to establish the interlinkages between current affairs and the static portion. So moving on to the IR part. So far we have discussed some of the important aspects of polity. Now we'll try to understand some of the important themes regarding international organizations or institutions. Each and every year we are getting good number of questions on regional organization. As I already discussed in the core dimension part. So what are all the important aspects that we need to remember regarding regional organization? Like the decade it was established, members, the objectives and function. Likewise, try to understand some of the important regional organizations. The next one is developmental oriented organizations based on the World Bank. So on the lines of the World Bank. For example, AIIB, ADB, World Bank, IMF, etc. There are certain important UN related organizations, namely UNICEF, UN Habitat. In 2021, we got question on cities based on the UN Habitat itself. In 2017 also, we got one question on UN Habitat. In 2021, we got one question on UNESCO and UNICEF itself. Likewise, you try to understand some of the important specialized agencies of UN. For example, it might be WHO, WTO, Refugee Agency, Human Rights Council, International Court of Justice. It's one of the principal organ of UN. So UNSC is conducting a lot of meetings regarding Ukraine and Russia conflict. Try to go through it. So try to apply the core dimensions that we have already discussed while going through these concepts. And the next one is the treaties, protocols and the groupings. So especially the treaties like NPT, the groupings like NSG, MTCR, Australian group. Like try to go through these arrangements which are largely aims to curb the development of various destructive weapons across the globe. For example, India has got the membership of MTCR and it is also joined Australian group. Likewise, try to understand these elements based on the India's aspects itself. So which is more important for India? UPSC is going to ask questions on those elements itself. And along with that, certain NGOs. So UPSC used to ask good number of questions on NGOs, but certain international NGOs in 2016, 15 and 17. For example, in 16 we got question on Doctors Without Borders. In 2015 we got question on Amnesty International. It's an human rights organization like NGO. So likewise, you try to understand some of the important organizations. For example, Greenpeace it's also an important environmental NGO. Try to go through those organizations which are largely in news. So you will be getting only one-liner question. You need not to go too deep into this organization. So just understand what is the whether it is a non-governmental organization or governmental organization. What is when exactly it was established, like the decade, and what are all the important functions, 1 or 2 functions of it. So whether India is member of it not, something like that. And along with that, in international organization itself, we usually get questions on reports. So especially the 4 organizations, like the World Economic Forum, WB, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and certain reports published by UN itself. Try to go through those reports and identify certain sub-indicators of very important index. For example, ease of doing business index, which is published by World Bank. And along with that, while you are going through the current affairs part, try to go through the places in news. So places in news, you try to mark the places in the map itself or issues in news. So try to mark those issues in the map itself. So at that point of time, you can easily able to recall the map also, and also you can associate it certain current affairs aspects to the map itself. So that That will be kind of a revision also, or adding extra knowledge to your knowledge repository. So far we have discussed some of the important themes regarding polity and international organizations. Now we'll try to understand some of the important themes regarding science and technology. If you divide all science and technology, we'll be getting around 8 to 9 themes, right from defense to space. So each and every year we are getting good number of questions on almost all the themes, especially the genetic engineering or the biotechnology theme. Each and every year we are getting 3 to 4 questions. For example, in 2021 we got question on HIV virus, and we got question on recombinant DNA technology. The same question was asked in 2011. In 2013 we got one question on which of the following organisms can be synthesized artificially in the laboratory atmosphere. The same question was asked in 2021 prelims. So largely they are focusing on genetic engineering, and along with that certain important aspects regarding health and diseases, space technology, etc. So if you go through the previous year papers, we can come, as I already mentioned, there are around 8 to 10 themes. The first and foremost one is space. In space, we usually get one-liner question also, or 2 to 3 statements questions also. So for example, IRNSS satellite question which was asked in 2018 prelims. So in the LISA Pathfinder which was asked in 2020 prelims. Likewise, you try to go through the previous year papers, and based on that you try to divide the important missions of India, and along with that try to go through certain important missions launched by NASA and European Space Agency. So nuclear energy, like in 2020 we got one question on IAA additional 18 we got one question on IAA additional protocol. So and along with that you try to understand the feeder material for the nuclear energy production. For example, the uranium, thorium, the difference between thorium and uranium. So the 3-stage nuclear program of India. So the first stage, second stage, third stage. So where exactly thorium will be used, whether in the first stage or second stage or third stage. What do you mean by fast breeder reactor? So what is the role of plutonium in the fast breeder reactor? So the uranium reserves in India. Likewise, you try to understand overall cycle of it, and along with that what do you mean by NPT, NSG? So and India has signed various civil nuclear deals with different countries, for example France, Japan, USA, etc. Try to go through those elements. And along with that, genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is one of the most odd favorite topic from the last 2 years. So the right from the difference between plant cell to the animal cell which was asked in 2020 prelims, we got too many questions on that element. For example, especially on virus. So the nature of virus, whether the virus can synthesize the protein on its own or not, whether virus is a living organism or not. Likewise, we are getting good number of questions from genetic engineering part and the biotechnology part. Try to make sure that you go through the static aspect, that means basic aspects also, and the advanced aspect from the current affairs part. Next one is nanotechnology. In 2021, we got one question on carbon nanotubes. In 2015, we got one question on how exactly the nanotechnology will help to deliver the drug to a particular cell. So go through the static aspects of it and try to associate the current affairs part with that. Like with respect to the science or technology, how exactly you have to prepare is try to go through the basics properly from NCERT or any book, and along with that you try to add the knowledge of current affairs into your static part. So solely relying on the current affairs part will not suffice. So you will obviously stuck in 50-50, or probably you will be short of knowledge in the examination. So for that matter, try to go through the basics first, and along with that try to add the current affairs to the basics part. Next one is health and diseases. Each and every year we get 1 or 2 questions on health and diseases itself. For example, in 2021 we got one question on HIV virus. HIV virus is a retrovirus or not. Next one is the technologies part. So technology is the big data, artificial intelligence, so what virtual reality, augmented reality. We usually get questions on the application part of it. In 2020 we got question on the application of drones, and we also got the question on application of artificial intelligence. So try to understand like blockchain technology, cryptocurrency. Try to understand how exactly the technology works, and along with that try to understand in which are all the areas those technology can be deployed. Next, emerging technology, like as I already mentioned, big data, VR, AU, something like that. Try to go through some of the important aspects of basics. For example, refraction, reflection, in total internal refraction, refractive index, friction, turbidity, viscosity. Likewise, you try to go through some of the important aspects, capillarity and the pressure cooker part. So try to go through these important aspects of physics, so that you can easily able to understand some of the concepts properly, and that will obviously directly or indirectly will help to answer certain basics questions in UPSC. For that matter, try to go through last 5 to 10 years of CDS papers, where you will be getting good number of basic questions. If you are able to go through such kind of question, that will obviously help you to attempt good number of questions, especially regarding the basics in UPSC civil service. So LED, LCD, Li-Fi, Wi-Fi, such kind of technological aspects, although we use it every day, like Bluetooth, CD, DVD, Wi-Fi, LED, LCD, halogen bulbs, although we use it every day on everyday basis, probably will not inquire about it. Try to go through the technologies, very basic technologies that we use each and every day, and understand how exactly science works there. So that will help you to get at least 4 to 6 marks in each and every year. The pressure cooker thing, the sodium halogen bulbs and LED bulbs we usually use in everyday life, so we don't inquire about it. We don't create interest on our own to understand how exactly things works. Make sure that you try to go through these elements properly. That will add up good marks to the overall score of yours in 2022. In today's class, we have discussed about some of the important aspects of polity, IR and science and tech. In the next session, we will be discussing about some of the important aspects of environment and other subjects. Thank you.